Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer. Welcome to my channel if you're a first-time viewer, and thank you to those of you who have been with me for some time and still watching. Okay, so today's topic is Black Moon Lilith, and something that I really am very passionate about in terms of the divine feminine, and speaking of the feminine energies through the chart. So today's focus is on Lilith ingressing into the zodiac sign of Pisces, which just took place yesterday, I think it was. Now, a few things before I get started into discussing what this can potentially manifest as for each of us. The first thing is that I don't want to discuss in detail Black Moon Lilith from the astronomical point of view and so forth, because I've actually done videos on that. There are 4 Liliths actually, 3 that are definitely used, and there's a 4th one as well. And the Black Moon Lilith, which is what we're talking about today, is not actually a physical body. It's an astronomical point connecting to the moon actually and the earth. And I will put a link below for a video that I did quite some time ago that you can actually watch, which runs through the astronomy of the different Liliths and how you can locate them and so forth. So I'll leave that aside for now. So Lilith went into the Black Moon Lilith is what I'm talking about today, right? So you can see her transiting in your chart if you've got, the appropriate settings in terms of using transits for your birth charts. Lilith has a 9-year orbit, the Black Moon Lilith, and she spends about 8-9 months in each zodiac sign. So she just entered Pisces, and she'll be there until around about the 27th of January of 2020, so next year. So we've just had the experience of her in Aquarius, which I won't unpack because that's past, but I felt really drawn to discussing her in Pisces. And that's perhaps got to do with the fact that as she's transiting through Pisces, she will conjunct my Venus in Pisces, which is in the 3rd house. So it's all about knowledge, information, and the fact that I love sharing knowledge and information as well, because Venus is what you love, right? So anyway, she's gone into my 3rd house, and she's sort of stimulated this video to be born today. Okay, so in addition to what I just said a minute ago, the mythology of the Dark Moon Lilith is something that I discussed in a fair bit of depth and detail in a video that I did some time ago. So if you don't know anything about her, or even if you do and you just want to understand a little bit more, it's worth watching that video, because you might pick up on a few things that you haven't perhaps heard or considered. And if you don't know anything about her, then it's definitely worth watching that video, because you can just get more of a background on her mythology and what she actually represents. So, because I'm not going into the detail of that today. All right, so I will just make a couple of points. So Lilith being, I see her as an aspect of the divine feminine. As we know, through history and through life, that the feminine principle and quality has been suppressed, for a very, very long time. We all know that. So this vibration of Black Moon Lilith is a big part of that. Her energy has been very much suppressed, and what has been projected onto her are very dark perceptions that she's demonic and she holds this evil energy and so on and so forth. And that's really the the masculine component operating from that personality level, which projects basically that darkness onto that feminine principle. Now, Lilith was actually Adam's first wife, for those of you who don't know. Many of you probably do. So before Adam, and what's the other one's name? Eve. Before Adam and Eve came together, Lilith was the first wife that Adam actually had. And just very quickly, and you can get more of this in the video, in the other video that I'll put a link below this video for, she basically didn't want to submit submit to Adam's directions and what Adam wanted her to do and be. So this non-submissive nature that she has is what holds her vibration. She's a very powerful feminine figure, and she really just doesn't take any shit. So wherever she's located in your chart natally, that is the area that's going to have quite a few layers in terms of what she represents and what she brings up for you. And she works in both men and women's chart. This is not a gender-specific body of knowledge that we're talking about. It applies to both men and women. Obviously, it just manifests in different ways in masculine psyche and in the feminine psyche. So she does have a dark side to her. I will acknowledge that. Just like every single planet or sign of the zodiac has a more personality-based expression and has a soul-based expression as well. So we distinguish between a lower personality level of expression of the archetypes and of the planets and the asteroids. So all these archetypes and energies, planetary bodies and so forth, they all have the potential to operate from the lower astral field personality level or the higher spiritual level of consciousness, which is aware and awake. So from a lower level, Lilith can really describe serious behaviors around abuse and abuse of power. She's a very strong symbol in the chart when it comes to somebody manifesting her energy in an abusive way. For example, abusive relationships. Usually the dark moon Lilith has a strong presence in the chart, for instance. So she can manifest in very dark ways because she is a power symbol. She represents power, but when she goes wrong, as it were, her anger and fury and that energy can manifest in very dark ways. She has a sexual energy component to her, but not sex in the way that we would normally view sex, as in the sexual act, as it were. From a higher perspective, that sexual vibration energy is more about the kundalini energy within. So she really evokes that and all the chakras within us as well. When you think about her symbol, which is, the snake, which represents basically wisdom, it's a symbol of sexual energy and power and deep wisdom, right? Knowledge. So she holds all these different vibrations within her, and it's just a question of how one tunes into her vibration and how they act through her. Now, she's a very unconscious energy, by the way, so her levels are very subtle, very unconscious, but incredibly powerful. And she doesn't play out in the way where we even know what's going on with her energy. We have to consciously choose to access the door, put the key in the door and open the door to her vibration, to use her energy and tune in with her at the highest possible level for our awakening and our soul's evolution as well. So she can be abuse of power or overpowering others and so on and so forth. She can be the power that one experiences within themselves, your own sense of self-empowerment, which can take two streams. It can be abusing and overpowering other people, or just standing in your own power for the purposes of self-empowerment and evolution, not from an ego personality base though, right? So sexual energy, kundalini energy, she evokes all those sorts of things. Because she's a feminine energy or representation, and she connects to the moon as well, the natal moon in your chart and the transiting moon as well. She's a feminine principle and archetype, and the feminine is associated with the dark. That's why the moon is a nocturnal planet, essentially, and the sun is a diurnal planet. So nocturnal energies usually take us within, into different centers in our being, right? To experience different things, to gain insight from internal realms and so forth. And so she, being a feminine principle and quality, she takes us into those deeper spaces within. But through that, her energy is also projected out there. As I said a moment ago, she can be very strongly present in a person's chart who is an abuser of some sort. Sexual addictions, all sorts of addictions. She's very complex. A lot of different things are connected to her. And in a woman's chart, she can be a female, a woman who has, when she's prominently placed, so if she's conjunct an angle, conjunct a personal planet, or even conjunct Pluto, which is where I have her, she has a very strong voice, and she desires to speak very strongly when she's placed strongly in the birth chart. And she represents power and not standing for being abused or overpowered by others and so forth. She's very, very complex. There's a lot of layers to her, but please do listen to the other video just to get more insight about those sorts of themes around her. Now, in Pisces, where she will be for the next 9 months, it's a very interesting place for her to be, because Pisces is a water sign. It's a feminine sign. It's a nocturnal sort of sign. We're talking Pisces, 12th house Neptune, right? So in Pisces, she enables us to tap into and access these deeper experiences of our emotions, our emotional body, but also deeper levels of truth, because Pisces is the archetype that represents the ultimate truth, right? So in the sign of Pisces, she now gives us an opportunity to tap into and to access even deeper layers of what she actually represents, because she herself represents an unconscious component within us. And put her into the sign of Pisces, or the 12th house, well, she's inevitably going to take us into these deeper emotional experiences, which can be tricky to handle, can be a little bit confusing as well. Some fears can come up because the natural sort of urge is the polarity point Virgo, which is going to be the desire to want to control what you're feeling, or perhaps what's going to come up for you while she transits into Pisces in terms of connections, emotional connections you have with people. She can stir up the part in you that can become sort of very critical or judgmental of a particular person around you in your life, for instance, where you feel that it's hard to kind of get a handle of where they're coming from emotionally with you. So the polarity of Virgo is that wanting to get, sort of clear, and wanting to experience a sense of reality around that, because the Virgo Pisces polarity is always that access of what Pisces represents, which can be disillusionment in certain times and experiences. I mean, it is the ultimate truth, but it can be a very tricky polarity because it's a constant experience of what's real and what's not real, and checking in with both and testing. So the Virgo polarity gives that grounding point to test things. I did write something which I posted earlier, and I just want to read it. I wrote that here she offers opportunity to plunge into your deepest feelings and discover emotional connections with others. The mind may desperately be looking for logical reasons to explain what's wrong with the chaos, because Pisces is the archetype of chaos because it has no boundaries. So it can bring chaos in our life, as it were. Emotionally, instability reflected in others. So if you're seeing someone that's emotionally unstable around you, or the way they're relating to you, bear in mind that with Lilith in Pisces, that could potentially be triggers of your own sort of emotional instability as well. It's not necessarily the other person's. It can be, but it can be either or both, really. This is what she can evoke. She basically evokes our darker emotional nature, right? That's just what she does. And for the most part, that darker component lies dormant. It's unconscious. So wherever she is transiting, whatever house or whatever sign, she stimulates and triggers that archetype and brings up whatever is lying dormant within you on that level. However, if you connect to her vibration on a conscious level, there's incredible potential to access emotional power, emotional gifts, and much higher and deeper truths that reside within you. She can evoke deeper gifts and talents that are hidden from you, because the 12th house is what's hidden. It's out of your conscious view. None of us really know what's in the 12th house. It's the collective unconscious. So it connects us to everything and everyone, really. But in terms of our own unconscious, it's so deep. You know, even in the world of psychology and deep psychotherapy, those are the layers that certain therapists try to smash through, you know, try to break down the walls to get to those components within an individual to identify and understand certain behaviors that are driven, motivated, and triggered without a conscious intention or effort. Most of our behaviors are actually unconsciously driven. So in Pisces, this is what she brings up. She brings up all these layers that are just so deeply unconscious within us, which can be a little bit scary and can be quite challenging. But with Lilith, the main thing we have to do is we have to learn to let go, right? So, and it's interesting because that's a very strong theme about her, what she represents. And then Pisces, the archetype of Pisces, which is where she's transiting at the moment, is also the archetype that speaks to letting go, right? Trusting. It's a very difficult thing to do because the ego and the personality is always wanting to control, right? What's going on in life, what's going on in your life, what we see out there. That's the ego's role. That's what it just tries to do. So to step into the Pisces archetype, we really have to let go, and we step into what is unknown, what is uncertain, and what we can't actually see from this 3D reality. Now, some people are terrified to do that, and I can understand that, but this is what Lilith in Pisces is really asking you to do. And the reward when one can do that is that you can access incredible gifts that lie very deep within you from that Pisces archetypal level. So it's about plunging in, you know, and once you plunge in and you take that step and you let go, you will be very surprised with what you will actually access within your own self. Incredible gifts. So it's a very cathartic place and energy for Lilith to be in the sign of Pisces, because in Pisces, it's also about water, right? The ocean, which is symbolic of our own emotional nature, but from the point of view of oneness, connecting to absolutely everything. So while she's in Pisces, engaging in like lots of baths, for instance, that might sound silly or superficial, but it's not, because baths are very, very therapeutic. So the experience of water, right? So releasing tears, shedding tears through this process can be so incredibly cathartic and healing. And as you do that, she, in the sign of Pisces, she enables you to access much, much deeper truths that lie within you, where there's lots of gifts awaiting, right? But it's about trusting that process and going into it. She's the queen of the night, by the way, in terms of what she also represents. If I can just see here what I've written. So we access her energy through living, through actually experiencing, but we also must access our psychic antenna with her. And you couldn't access that more with her in Pisces. You know, Pisces is a sign of the psychic antenna. You know, it's clairvoyance, it's psychic power and ability to see beyond the illusion of the veils of Maya, right, of reality. So this is the potential that she carries as she transits through Pisces. She touches into our superconscious psycho-spiritual processes. That's what she does. And again, as I said before, it's what she really tries to do is speak to that part where we want to control everything, but the very thing that would aid to our evolution and our healing would be to trust and let go, right? And step into that abyss, which is not an easy thing to do. But for those that are working with feminine archetypes, feminine energies, for instance, this power of Lilith in Pisces can be utilized in incredible ways for your own healing. So she channels our psychic abilities, spiritual, magical energy. She stimulates soul connections with others while she's transiting in the sign of Pisces, because Pisces is the energy, the archetype that represents soul union, soul mate, soul love, soul connection. It doesn't have to be a lover necessarily. It can just be an incredibly beautiful soul connection with another being. You know, I have people in my life that are friends, for example, that I have a really strong soul connection with. And they're not my lover or my partner, they're a friend. So it can come out in different ways. I'm just putting that out there so you can keep an open mind and not think that it's just going to come through your partner or your lover, although of course it can. Now, Pisces is also the archetype that connects to sacrifice, right? And escapism. So that's just another theme, another level that can show up while she's transiting in Pisces, depending where it is in your chart as well, though. She might bring up those themes of sacrifice or wanting to escape. So if those sorts of themes are somehow coming up for you, then wherever she's, you know, transiting in your chart, just be aware of that. Be aware of, you know, if the theme of sacrificing is coming up, why is that coming up? What is that really speaking to in your life? Or if you're wanting to escape, you know, what are you escaping from? How could you use the Lilith energy to not escape, to actually just plunge deeper into your own emotionality and your own deeper truths that your soul actually holds for you, that is just waiting to pour out into you. And as I mentioned earlier, the Virgo polarity archetype, it's tricky because it can bring up critical sort of attitudes or perceptions, but on the other hand, it can also help you remain very grounded, right? And bring in sort of reality, as it were, to balance this energy out a little bit. And also it's about working with the physical body, right? So really listening to the needs of your physical body at this time. There can be a lot of healing that can take place because your body speaks to you all the time. But when Lilith is in Pisces and the polarity is Virgo, then this healing doesn't only come through plunging into these deeper levels within you, into deeper unconscious or subconscious aspects within you, but also learning to read your body and listen to the messages that it's giving you, because there's a lot of healing that can take place there. Okay, I covered that. Yep, I think that's basically it. So I guess the key about this is really the opportunity to access deeper truths, deeper emotional truths and understandings about yourself and your life, releasing and letting go and opening things up that are kind of locked away, as it were, accessing, deeper corners into your unconscious, which are normally hard to access. And healing, releasing tears. If there's stuff there that's lying dormant, that's suppressed, that's difficult to sort of let go of, this can be a great opportunity for that. And more importantly, also when you do plunge in and you do allow yourself to go in there, you'll be very surprised with what you will find out and discover about your own self and your own sort of abilities and gifts and talents. So it's a very powerful place for Lilith, actually, because in Pisces, Pisces is the totality, right? It's oneness. It's the ultimate truth. So imagine what Lilith can plunge into when you allow her, when you trust, when you let go. Imagine what she can bring up for you. Very, very powerful transit, this one. And it's active for 9 months. Naturally, pay attention to where it's transiting in your birth chart, because the houses in the birth chart are the where are the where of what is actually happening. So Lilith in the first house, Lilith in the second house, Lilith in the third house, etc., is going to connect to that domain of life. There's no question about that. So in order to understand and activate this energy consciously, really look at where she's transiting in your chart. Just one final thing. So here's just a comment, just very quickly. The presence of the Black Moon Lilith in any house by birth, and you can include this in transits as well, will add inscrutable layers of complexity to the area of your life represented by that house. By transit, the house through which Lilith is passing may be where the most compelling challenges pull your energy, yet also where special potentials beckon. Black Moon invisibly lights up the chakras to the huge influx of energy which needs to be integrated or discharged in some kind of way. For those of you that are interested in what I'm reading out of, that's the book. This was gifted to me. Black Moon Lilith, M. Kelly Hunter. There's not a lot of material on Lilith, by the way, in terms of books. This is okay. It's pretty good. It's you can pick up some pointers out of this. Okay, so I hope your journey with Lilith is well, what can I say? Is healing. It enables you to discover and to tap into deeper truths that reside very deep within you, because that's the whole point of her going through Pisces. So make the most of that, channel into her vibration and energy. She's a magnetic force and principle, by the way, like Venus is. She holds a very strong magnetic field. So she's there, she's active all the time, but it's just a question of, whether we are consciously tuning into her or whether she's just playing out in this unconscious way within us, which will show up in our life, but we just generally may not make the connection or really understand what's actually going on. But by consciously understanding her story, what she represents, and just observing her moving through your chart, you learn how she speaks to you. Because while she has certain themes and in terms of what she represents as an archetype, she still has to come through you, right? And your soul, right? And your chart and who you are. So the experience can bring up very, very many different things for every single person, right? But obviously, naturally, you always, associate what she represents as an archetype to get into that space of understanding how she's operating. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching, and see you guys soon with some more astro. Much love and blessings. Bye.